people have a problem with weight management. They think losing weight's the hard part. It is not. People are very good at losing weight. People are terrible at keeping the weight off. That's why you see so many people, even people that are obese, they're very good at losing that first 10 to 15 pounds, but it shoots right back up. Now, I'm someone who, if you were to inquire with me, I can get you to lose a substantial amount of weight within a month's time. My record myself, actually, when I was younger, was I lost 30 pounds in 28 days with no drugs involved. There was no drug intervention whatsoever. I did that by implementing intermittent fasting, along with a keto diet, which was way back before it was popular, minimizing the fats on that, a very low calorie deficit, along with doing high intensity interval cardio every single fucking day, and a normal weightlifting routine. So the point is, like, you can make so much substantial progress doing that, but it's fucking hard. And the worst part is when you get towards the end of that and you hit the goal line that you wanted to get for yourself. Well, guess what now? Now your ghrelin hormone is jacked way the fuck up. What does that do? That hormone secretes out of your adipose tissue, which is your fat cells, and it tells your body that you're starving and you're hungry and you need more food. This is where things like binge eating disorder come into play, because with binge eating disorder, your hunger and appetite is so upregulated because of that ghrelin. All of a sudden, you're eating to the point where you'd normally be satiated and full, and your body's just telling you to keep on eating, and along with just like poor coping mechanisms, mental habits, and just discipline, you're going to overeat and need a lot of shit, and that's how people end up with like bulimia or anorexia, then falling back into binge eating problems. So that's typically where people gain, and then they gain. The worst part is, you can do all these things, you lose all this weight. Well, now you lost all that weight, and your body's also primed to put on weight. Because think about it, anytime you're cutting weight, what you're doing is controlled starvation. People don't want to look at it that way. That's exactly what it is. You're stripping tissue off your body in a controlled manner. So your body is, just think about it, it's wired for survival. So your body isn't mentally conscious as much as you. Like, your body just reacts to what the fuck's getting thrown at it. So it's like, okay, well, I need to up my ability to store food, which means your body gets actually very efficient at storing shit that you're eating. So then you factor in this binging disorder and all that, and your body's just soaking that up like a sponge. And it's terrible because you could end up like burning off a little bit of muscle tissue along with fat cells while you're doing all this shit. And then what ends up happening is you're going to binge, and then your body's just going to start accumulating lots and lots and lots of fat tissue. So then you end up, most of the time, blowing past that baseline and looking worse than you did to start. Now, how do you combat that? You got a rebound is basically you're dieting out of the hole you put yourself in, and you're doing this again in a controlled manner and slowly upping up calories, because what you're doing is your metabolism may be fast, but your body's also soaking it up like a sponge, right? You're very susceptible to fat gain. So when you're rebounding, you're increasing calories, and what you're getting to do is you're getting your hormone levels to start balancing out over time. And that's the hard part. It's not the losing weight part. The hard part is the rebound, because the rebound actually is going to probably take a little bit longer than the diet. Let's say you do a 30-day fat loss protocol like I did when I talked about how I lost 30 pounds in 28 days. You're going to fucking kill yourself by the end. Well, now it's going to take a couple months. You slowly accumulating more calories in your system and eating the right things while you're doing all that, along with being starving as fuck the whole time. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. You're going to need to find coping mechanisms for yourself. You're going to have to figure out what you can do to avoid. Sometimes you're just going to go to bed hungry. You know what? But the thing is, it's just like anxiety. It gets worse the more you start avoiding uncomfortable situations, right? Because you let the anxiety win. Well, the same thing goes here. Every time you give in and you binge and you do things like that, you're just making it worse for yourself. You're making yourself more comfortable with just quitting on yourself. And that's why, and people will be like, oh, you're just not mentally tough. Like, no, discipline is a trained skill. You're not just born with discipline. It's something that you acquire over time, and it gets stronger every time you implement it. And that's why the mental toughness comes in just trusting in yourself and really gritting down when it gets hard, because the hard part is the diet. It's not the lifting in the gym and pushing yourself in the gym. People like to look at that as the hard part because it's actually the physical part. It's not hard at all. you're able to exert yourself and put yourself in a mental state. We're able to push weight really fast and get to the point where you have a really good workout. But that's momentary, right? That's just in the moment shit. The diet, it's a 24/7 thing. That's a lot harder. That's a lot harder because you're dealing with emotional instability when it comes to getting really hungry and wanting to binge and things like that. But it's an ongoing thing. There are peaks and valleys that you have throughout the day. That's a lot harder to combat and harder to deal with. So you have to rebound correctly. And there's a lot of things you can do too. You can implement strategic caffeine timing. Something I do, but I can't legally recommend you to do. You should. There's nicotine pouches. It's just like nicotine, which actually is a nootropic when it's taken in small doses, but it's an appetite suppressant, which caffeine is as well. And you just implement that when you're hungry. A thing I personally like to do that's a lot healthier and better than that is chew gum. Chew gum when you're hungry. A lot of people just start drinking a shit ton of water. You can get some Mio Energy. It's got 0 calories in it. You can spray that into like a jug of water and just start drinking a shit ton of water, which it's not going to feel the same as being full off of food, but you're trying to do something healthier. It's a healthier alternative to fucking yourself up, and that's what it comes down to it. So I don't think people have a problem losing weight at all. And there's so many people that they're in this endless cycle. They're just gonna get to the point where they're fed up. They want to give up. They don't really know what to do. They feel like they feel like they're weak. They feel like it's like out of their control, and it's really not. The problem is you need good guidance. Now the thing is with good guidance is you got a coach. A lot of people hire a trainer or a coach, and what they're expecting out of the experience is someone to hold their hand, be their cheerleader, and give them a pat on the back, and be the one that's actually standing there making them work out. That's absolute trash, and it'll never work. I'm sorry, it just won't. No one can do the work for you. This is the only thing in life where people can't do the work for you. So my biggest takeaway from this is discipline is a trained skill. And you need to implement that every single day. Every time you're faced with a decision where you can make a shitty choice and have a shitty outcome, and you choose to do the healthier alternative or the lesser of two evils, you're benefiting yourself in the long term. Because the more you make decisions like that, the easier it gets over time. Then it becomes a no-brainer. It becomes a part of your daily routine. And then it's like, okay, I will not succumb to the temptations of my mind. And that's the biggest thing that'll benefit you in life. If you can cut a substantial amount of weight, keep it off, and make your body look better than it was before, and transition into a healthier phase in your life, that is something that most people can't do. And the fact that you're able to push yourself to that level and you're able to achieve that, that is something that will just pour into every other aspect of your life. Because if you can do something like that, you can do anything, because it's mastery of yourself. It's mastery of your own abilities, mastery of your own effort, mastery of your own mind. Because it is hard. It is hard. How many people do you see that get pissed off and hungry and they start lashing out at people similar to a toddler just because they haven't eaten in a few hours? A lot of people do that shit. It's just it's a sad part of human nature. It's a little embarrassing at times because, people eat food and they're like, well, I acted like an asshole. Well, kind of did. Best thing you can do is invest in yourself. If you really, this is my personal opinion on coaching. You need to find someone that you want to hire, that you're trying to obtain information from. That's it. Obtain information and obtain the roadmap. And then you have to work it. You cannot go into that shit hiring someone because you want them to be the accountability factor for you. You are the accountability factor. You are the only one that will ever be able to hold yourself accountable to shit. That is on you. That's the hard part. That's the part that you take on yourself when you actually decide to make a decision that you want to change stuff. And making a decision means you have to deal with the consequences and everything that comes after. There's so many people that think they make a decision, but they didn't. They decided to make a decision. They're in the phase where they're deciding to make a decision. And that's a little weird phrasing to say, but think about it. When you make a decision, the axe is dropped, right? Boom. You decided that you were going to do something. And it's similar to jumping off jumping off a diving board, right? You can't backtrack. You made that decision. It's with you now. You can't go back on a diving board. You're in the middle of the air, and the only thing you can focus on is how the fuck you land. And that's a great way to look at this. You make a decision, you stick with it, you stick with your guns, you show yourself what you're capable of, and I promise you, you will succeed if you deal with the hard parts. Unfortunately, the hard parts come in the beginning when you're building the discipline, the daily habits, and just the routine for yourself. But the dividends are tenfold when you're able to do this. Mastery yourself will just teach you so many important things. There's so many life lessons you could learn out of weightlifting. Cannot stress that enough. There, you will learn that you can put your mind to something and you put in this work every day, and it's like laying bricks. They're not a wall right away, but every day you're putting a new one down, and it's not instant gratification, it's delayed gratification, which is the best kind you can get, because a year from now you're going to look back. And this is why I also highly recommend taking pictures of yourself when you start and doing it every week or every month along the way, because you're living in your own body. You're not going to really see, and you're going to minimize yourself. But when you put those things next to each other, you're going to say, oh, damn, I actually did something. Because laying one brick a day sure seems tedious, and it's going to make you feel like, what the fuck's the point? But a year of laying bricks down, you got a pretty good wall at the end.